Well, hello and welcome to today's webinar, Avoid the Recalls, How to Maintain Brand Reputation and Drive Company-Wide Compliance. So this event is brought to you by Food Safety Magazine and it is sponsored by ETQ. I'm Adrienne Bloom, Editorial Director of Food Safety Magazine, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. So today's presenters joining us from ETQ are Jennifer Bianchini, Senior Product Marketing Manager, and Tom Barlow, Strategic Solutions Engineer. Also joining us is Albina Volkova, Quality Systems Administrator at Mark Anthony Group. So I'm going to rejoin the presenters at the end to help answer your questions that come in throughout the webinar. So don't forget to submit those in the Q&A and chat section of the webinar console. And also today's event is being recorded and will be archived on food-safety.com. So now, with that said, I'm excited to turn it over to today's first presenter, Jennifer.
And I'm happy to be here today with you all. So here's a quick overview of what we will cover. We will take a look at some of the challenges that food and beverage manufacturers face when it comes to quality management. And we'll also share with you how a quality management system can help you work through the several regulations that you need to demonstrate compliance for. And then I'm excited for Albina to share with you Mark Anthony's group journey of achieving compliance. And then Tom, my fellow colleague, will show us some tips on how you can utilize a quality management system to monitor and track compliance. Then we'll very quickly share with you how ETQ Reliance can help you maintain your brand while safely demonstrating compliance. And then, as mentioned, we'll have time at the end for a Q&A. So let's dive in, shall we? So I'm curious to know how many you think are issued a day. So is it 0? Is it B, 1? Or is it C, 3? There are 3 new federal regulations a day. Or are you thinking D, it's 5? Or it's much more than that because there are so many agencies that submit requirements that we need to demonstrate compliance for. So it could be E, 8, or you just aren't sure, which is just fine as well. So I'll give it just a minute, give you a chance to think about that, and then we'll click to the results. All right. Most of you seem to be on track. And if you're thinking the correct answer is E, you are correct. There is an average of 8 new federal regulations per day, every day, per the Office of the Federal Registrar. So how do you even start to keep track of all of that? Let's start by breaking this down so you can start untangling the regulation web. So here are some challenges we have heard from our customers that can come up during a quality management process when navigating regulations, issues that they have shared with us that they have experienced over time. The first is not being able to maintain compliance with the growing number of regulations, as we just saw in our survey question. As I mentioned, there are many agencies that you have to demonstrate compliance for, like ISO 9001, the FDA, the EPA, OSHA, and so much more. There are also customer and market requirements, and then including your own internal standards in which you need to comply with. So I think you're getting the picture here. There's quite a bit, and it can be overwhelming. Next, we heard about manual and paper-based processes. So information that might be in a file that's tucked away in a filing cabinet, or it's in a SharePoint folder that not everybody has access to who needs that information, or perhaps worse, the information that people need to do their job. It might be lost in an unopened email or an unanswered voicemail. So when there isn't a central repository to share information, it's easy for it to get lost. And then there are inconsistent documentation methods. So maybe not everyone is managing document changes the same way for tracking changes and revisions. Has everyone agreed to sign off on those changes? Did the right approvers approve the changes? And are you providing an audit trail? So is there an audit trail available for when the time comes to do audits? And we've also heard about challenges around having multiple systems that have duplicate pieces of information or inconsistent information. How do you know what piece of information is correct? And then finally, we have corrective actions. So some folks might do things one way, and then another team that's in another location might do it another. So how are you ensuring consistent quality if your corrective action processes aren't even aligned? So there are a lot of different challenges that can come up when it comes to demonstrating compliance, and these are just a few. And I'm sure everyone here who is joining us today can talk to their own challenges for processes when it comes to ensuring demonstrating compliance. But it doesn't need to be that way. A quality management system can help you untangle your way out of the compliance web, demonstrate compliance to all the regulations and requirements and the costly recalls that can come up, and it will help you maintain your brand integrity. So we did a research project with our customers not too long ago, and we took a look at where they saw the value of a quality management system. And what we heard from our customers where they saw real value with their EQMS was when it came to reducing the risk of noncompliance. So as you can see here, highlighted are 4 key ROI drivers where our customers achieved real results. So these are real numbers that they reported back to us while for using their EQMS, where they saw real value. And the first was reducing risk. So they saw a 50% reduction in the time spent supporting external audits. And then it came to streamlining their operations. So they reported back to us that they saw a 30% reduction in that time spent managing customer complaints. And then they saw a reduction in cost with a 10% reduction in their field failures, so recalls, warranties, etc. And then the fourth key ROI was growing to protect their revenues. So they saw a 40% reduction in that new product development timeline and getting new products out to the market faster and creating new revenue for the organization. So this is pretty significant. And all of this leads to ensuring that you aren't getting caught up in the crosshairs of the complex regulations and requirements. So now I'd like to turn it over to Albania with Mark Anthony Group. And I'm really excited to hear how they achieve centralized visibility to ensure compliance with the many regulations and standards they need to uphold. So Albania, over to you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone. I'm Albina Volkova. I'm Quality Systems Administrator at Mark Anthony Group. And today I'm going to tell you about our journey to how we manage our compliances within our organization. Here's a little bit about me. So again, I'm Quality Systems Administrator at Mark Anthony Group since 2022. And my main focus is supporting ETQ platform within the organization. I also worked like all my life. I worked in alcohol beverage industry in different companies and covering different roles, including quality and operations. And my hobby, like I like to be outdoors a lot when the time allows, whether it's paddling, if it weather allows, or it's hiking, or now it's running as well. Let's go back to Mark Anthony Group, who we are. Mark Anthony Group of companies founded by Anthony von Mondel in 1972. And first, we were open as a wine importer to Canada. Then we expanded our company with wineries, our own wineries in Okanagan region in British Columbia of Canada. And now we are also producing we are also producing RTD drinks, which is ready to drink drinks with such brands as Mike's Hard Lemonade and White Claw Seltzer. We also operate. We also have 3 breweries in the United States, our own breweries producing our brands, and we also partner with 20 co-packers and 3 repackers throughout the world. We are globally selling our products. That's why we have headquarters in Vancouver and offices in Dublin and in Chicago as well. And also, quality system is located in Vancouver headquarters, and again with separate divisions dedicated to different regions of our company. But overall, our quality systems centralized in Vancouver. So how we leveraged ETQ Reliance within our company. So we adapted the ETQ Reliance platform in 2010, mainly for the document control, complaints handling, and compliance. And because we started growing rapidly with introducing our new drinks into the market, and our company started growing a lot, we wanted to ensure our quality of our product. That's why we expanded our platform with different modules such as NCRs, product specification management, SDSs, and deviations. We also integrated our platform with our ERP system, allowing our co-packers, because we have like a lot of external users, co-packers, to access bill of materials for our products. And we also integrated with the customer complaints platform with ETQ, where our quality team can easily access all the complaints related to the quality products of the products and address them quickly and investigate and create corrective actions based on it. So how we perform compliance management in ETQ at Mark Antony Group of Companies. So our biggest market currently is the United States, which is regulated by TTB agency, Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. And for the TTB, before we produce anything, we need to submit process of statement to our TTB. So process of statement is basically our formulations that we use when we produce our products. It's quantitative ingredients of a list of ingredients, and we submit it to TTB, and once it's approved, then we can produce. We had a few instances, like at the very beginning, right, where we produced products without TTB approval first. Luckily, TTB approved it afterwards, but it could be a costly mistake for the company in case if TTB didn't approve it, and then we needed to destroy all the products that we produced without approval. So that's why it was very important for us to build the process where we cannot produce the product before we get approval from the TTB. In order to achieve this, together with our product development team and our compliance team, we built a process where product development team creates the formulation for the product, and the formulation is not being released to our operation people before compliance team submits and gets approval from TTB. We also implemented another process within our compliance management modules, certificate of label approval, which is another thing that we submit to TTB. And certificate of label approval it's basically we approve everything what we state on our labels. We submit to TTB and then get approval from TTB. We cannot start printing our labels for our packages, or even we cannot start printing our cans where we write for product before we get this approval from TTB. So in that the thing in here is that if we produce something and TTB doesn't approve it, then we would need to destroy all the packaging products that we produced, which again could cost a lot of money to the company. And we also implemented a new workflow. Well, currently, it's just recently we call it regulatory agency response, where we manage responses to regulatory agency visits, whether it's planned visit or unplanned visits, and where we record all the information regarding to this visit, what was the reason of the visit, and we connected this workflow to our CAPA module, corrective action module, and where we can create CAPA, and then we can see all the connections within this document. What was important for us for this regulatory agency responses was that we wanted to have different levels of security for this document. So we wanted some people to see some of these documents, but some people, they can see all of the documents. Some people can just see part of the documents. So this was what we were able to achieve by using different levels of security through ETQ. So before we didn't have this possibility because all the regulatory agency responses were stored in our shared folders by quality managers. And for example, we whether if people had access to this folder, they had access to everything, right? But now we can have this a little bit different way. And looking ahead, we are planning also to implement our suppliers modules together with audit management, where we can record all the audits and plan all audits of our suppliers and co-packers, because we have a lot of co-packers and we regularly audit them. And again, because our breweries, 3 our own breweries, they are BRC certified, we would like to have food safety integration in ETQ. That's everything. Now I'm heading over to Tom Barlow, who will explain more about the possibilities of ETQ.
Excellent. Thank you, Albina. Before I get started on my presentation, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Tom Barlow, Strategic Solutions Engineer for ETQ. I've been with ETQ for just over 21 years, and prior to that, I came from a compliance and quality management systems implementation background, working with many different companies to help them implement their quality management systems. So let's jump into the presentation for a few minutes here. So ETQ Reliance helps you efficiently meet changing regulatory compliance, customer and market compliance and requirements at scale. The challenge to effectively adhere to all regulatory requirements, increased audit findings due to non-compliance, or the struggle to adapt quality to market and business challenges can lead to loss of revenues, fines, and production shutdowns. By delivering greater visibility across the product lifecycle, ETQ Reliance empowers customers to make more effective decisions and adapt to quality processes and changes more quickly. Customers can stay audit ready all the time and more readily comply with all the regulatory requirements like ISO, SQF, OSHA, FDA, or any other requirements that an organization has to comply with. In addition, organizations can swiftly adapt to market changes, minimize audit findings, and comply with regulations and these added benefits that you can see listed right here, such as boosting revenue and margin, minimizing audit findings due to non-compliance, better adhering to global regulatory requirements, mitigating risk of shutdown, fines, or legal consequences. So there are several key capabilities in our platform that lend themselves to compliance at scale and regulatory requirements. So these 6 are listed here. Document control ensures that policies, procedures, and the documentation is approved, distributed, and revised to ensure ongoing compliance with requirements. Audits management ensures that you verify compliance with requirements at scale. Real-time reporting provides accessible data and automated reports for just-in-time reporting and configurable alerts delivered across multiple channels for increased visibility of changes. Business process analytics, such as BI visualization and reporting, are available in rich domains process-specific dashboards to drive decision accuracy and velocity. Root cause analysis tools built into existing processes and change control connected to mobile device, like change control and corrective action, for example, for detailed root cause analysis across business units to ensure continuous improvement. And then finally, a complete validation package provides validation materials and records of all the validation activities that you have to comply with. So ETQ Reliance itself is a workflow-based business process automation platform that's highly configurable by your non-technical administrator. So Albina was talking about implementing workflows and implementing processes and applications. We actually have 42 pre-configured apps ready to go on the platform, but the system is so configurable that you can even use our designer tool, which is a drag and drop administration tool, to configure additional business processes on the platform that were not even part of our out-of-the-box or pre-configured standard applications. Another thing about the applications on the platform is that they connect with each other. There's a lot of connectivity and interaction between the processes. So these next 2 slides will actually highlight some of that. In the first case, we'll be talking about compliance obligations, which is a process that Albina referred to a few minutes ago. But this will kind of help you visualize how our pre-configured compliance obligations application works and how it all ties together into other key business processes on the platform. So for example, there's an application which I just mentioned, compliance obligations, that has a thing called applicability review. It's a process in the system in that application, but we can also connect to external content providers. So if you have to comply with regulations from SQF and other organizations that publish and revise their requirements on a regular basis, we can connect right to that. And then within our system, you can evaluate the particular regulation to determine if it's applicable to you as an organization. If it is applicable, you can then, with the click of a button, launch what's called a requirement in our system. So it's actually a controlled record that has revision control that we'll discuss in a few minutes. That also, once approved, will allow end users to, with the appropriate privileges, to be able to access that information. They can look up the regulations and see what they are in real time, basically looking at the most recent version. But I just mentioned one of the most important things about our platform is the connectivity between the processes. So for example, from a regulation, you can define multiple documents over in the document control application that I just referred to a few moments ago that actually implement those particular requirements. So policies, procedures, work instructions, other types of documents, those can go through a workflow for review and approval. And then once they're approved, your end users can go into our system and access the most recently approved version of documents very easily. The other thing that's not listed on this diagram is the very tight relationship between doc control and training. When a document gets created or revised, you also not only have to notify people, which we can do very easily electronically, but you may have to keep objective evidence of the fact that people are not only aware of the documents, but they also read and understood them, in which case you can deliver a multiple choice test to verify that they read and understood the document. So just from the regulation, we can identify any documents related to them, and then there's a connection between them. So if the regulation that is tied to a specific document or set of documents is about to expire, anyone that goes to look at one or more documents that are affected by that regulation would see a message that say, this regulation is about to expire. The other aspect of this is to verify your compliance to requirements on a predefined basis, otherwise known as an audit. So there's an application on the platform called Audits Management that lets you import all your existing audit types, and it can even electronically tie to external content providers as well to keep those audit questions up to date so that you can plan, schedule, and conduct audits on a predefined basis. The other aspect of this is the ability to have tasks. So we have an application called Task Management, where in the process of implementing these particular requirements, you may have to use our standard workflow functionality to assign tasks. So when people get assigned tasks, they get an assignment email from our system with a hyperlink to the record. Our system also has a home page that shows anything that is assigned to anybody. Each person has their own set of assignments, but their managers can also log in and see what's going on. And also our tool has a set of escalation, or it has an escalation tool called it's an escalation tool that sends reminders up to 3 levels in the organization. So the person responsible, if they don't do something in a timely manner, X number of days before a specific due date, they would get a reminder email from the system to remind them that they have to do something. As inferred by the term escalation, if they don't do something in a certain number of days, it'll then escalate to the person's manager and even to the manager's manager after that. So those are the 3 things that are standard with workflow, but if you think about the 42 pre-configured apps as well as the ability to configure any other apps on the platform to meet any other business process requirements that you might have, it becomes really, really powerful. The beauty of our system is the simplicity with which we manage complexity. And then on top of that, and Albina mentioned this as well, is the integration capability with any other external system. And our next slide will talk a little bit about that in a moment as well. In addition to the ability to have tasks that are individual one-off tasks that someone has to do, another thing that's unique about regulations and compliance requirements is oftentimes you either have to monitor things on a predefined basis and or report things on a predefined basis every quarter, every month, every year, whatever it might be. So the unique capability that's built into our task management app is what's called recurring tasks. So I can say this regulation requires that we report quarterly from each facility. So you can have the system send assignments to responsible parties at each facility on a quarterly basis to remind them that they have to report something. So that's another really powerful thing. But notice that the relationship between these processes are all tied to each other. In addition to that, we have the ability to manage those requirements because your managing of those requirements means that they have upcoming review dates. Escalation can start to send reminders to the owners of those regulations to let them know that they have to do a review. The review might just say no changes needed, so it actually it completes a little review record related to each requirement, and it automatically resets the review date based on the review frequency. The other option is it could be obsolete, so someone can request to remove it from use, and then of course you might have to do a change as well. And if a change is needed, it lets you revise it manually, or through a connection with your external content provider, it could prompt a change request automatically when a new version of the regulation that you have to comply with comes out, and that would prompt the owners of the regulation to do a formal review and approval of the new version within our system, and then the old version moves to the archive. So this is something I wanted to bring to the table because not only can the documents and the audits that I described before allow you to maintain compliance, but it also ties at a higher level to the regulations and requirements in the compliance obligations application, which is the reason why we have those documents in the first place. The next process I'd like to quickly describe, and I purposely didn't animate this so we can cover it pretty quickly, but this is really showing what we call the closed loop process for quality improvement. The corrective action process is the ability to permanently correct issues that occur, but issues are just issues. There are many different sources of issues that can be tracked. We already discussed the audits application, which is on the top of this diagram. That's the planned mechanism to verify compliance. But of course, if something is out of compliance, then what do we do about it? Do we just raise a flag and say there's an issue? Well, yes, you do, but you also have to launch other processes to ensure that the right people review, such as the quality event. So you have a review of the problem, investigation if necessary, risk assessment. You can determine if you need to do anything further. That's what we call track and trend. So if nothing else is necessary to be done, you can approve it and then close it without doing any further action. But you could also do a root cause analysis and then still determine that you don't need to launch a corrective action. If you do launch a corrective action, it has different action items that can be launched, things like reviewing those documents that we just talked about, maybe revising them if needed, maybe make sure that training is done on the revised versions of those documents. Also, other issues like customer complaints, non-conformance reports, product issues, whatever it might be, can be launched. We can communicate with suppliers using our external collaboration capability. But the thing I wanted to talk about more so than just the process, the workflow processes between with each of these individual processes, as well as the relationships or the connectivity between them, and the integration with external things like customer relationship management tools, on-premise equipment that's doing measurements and whatnot that could also launch something right into our system. But from a compliance management perspective, in addition to the workflow that drives everything, we also have the outputs, which is the completed record is actually objective evidence of compliance. So a lot of people don't necessarily think of that, but because all these different processes are connected to each other, it becomes a very powerful, fully traceable record of what happened, the initial issue all the way through to the investigation, all the way through to the corrective action, and then into the actions that say we had to review documents, revise them with links to the actual documents. So that's something that a lot of organizations struggle with, and that's something that our tool, just by virtue of using our tool, provides for you. There's another thing that our tool also provides for you as a result of just using it, which is reports. Because when you're filling out forms, you're capturing data. You have values, you have keyword lists that you're filling in. You can do lookups into your things like your products and your customers and suppliers right out of our system using integration with your ERP or MES tools or whatever other tools that you might have. So another kind of a byproduct of using our system to manage the workflow and categorize all these different things with a fully configurable platform. So once again, if our pre-configured forms don't meet your requirements and have the proper keywords, you can easily tailor it to your own without customization. You're not customizing our tool. And I think Albina would agree that our tool revolutionizes the ability to automate business processes because you don't have to customize it. When I say you couldn't customize it. You'd have to have the vendor or the value-added reseller customize the tool, which is expensive and time-consuming. In addition, when you customize a tool, you're actually breaking it. You're breaking the standard version of their tool. And when a new version of their tool comes out, it's very difficult to do updates or upgrades. So our platform is just that. It's a platform first. And then on top of that, we use our own designer tool to pre-configure the 42 applications that are available on the platform. So if we use the tool ourselves to build our tool, that means that there's an unlimited capability for configuration on the platform to not only modify individual apps to meet your own business process requirements, but as I just mentioned, you can use it as a developer tool to build new applications on the platform that look and feel just like every other app. They all connect with each other. They can integrate with external systems, and then we can do reporting like this. So the one aspect of a report in our system is what's called a view. We have about 350 pre-configured views that actually look at the records in the system, whether it's data on the forms or the status of the record. It might be the due date and the current step and who it's assigned to, things like that. So these views, which are based on security, based on who's allowed to see what, will give you the ability to search for information and even click on individual records and open them up within our system. Once again, all based on security. So you can make available easy access to information within the system across the platform, but you can also use our what's called contextual awareness, which means that when you set up your organizational structure, you can define people on different levels of the hierarchy. Maybe you have a specific location or some manager of a business unit that can log in and see all the records that pertain to them, or someone from one location only seeing the records that pertain to them. So there are guardrails that you can put around our system to allow people or prevent them from seeing certain things. And because our system is hosted in the cloud, I mentioned a concept called external collaboration very briefly, which is the ability to send anything out to someone outside the organization, like a SCAR, supplier corrective action, for example, or a supplier can request a deviation or request a change request, or even have to participate in training or acknowledgement of documents in our system, or maybe even make them aware of certain procedures and policies that they need to comply with. You can do that very easily and seamlessly with our external collaboration capability. So in addition to the views that are kind of inherent to our system, there are several other options. So this is the Reliance system. This little box is really the workflow-based platform that has all the data in it. And there are several, actually 3 different options on how to do reports from it. One is using our own centralized reporting and alerts utility. and that's built right into the platform. It's a utility where you can build your own chart templates. We have about 8 chart types. You can put those on someone's homepage. So this little diagram is actually an example of what someone's homepage, at least the charts section of their homepage, might look like. The other page has assignments and things like that I just discussed before. And then they can click and drill down to the individual views, which are actually used as data sources behind the reports. In addition to our own centralized reporting tool, we have a tool called ETQ Insights, which provides more analytic type dashboards, more BI type reporting that you would expect to see in a very large enterprise tool like ours. So these dashboards can be predefined by us. We have several out of the box, but we can also work with you as part of an implementation to create additional ones or modify the ones that we have to meet your specific needs. But what's nice about this is that it's also available in a web interface. So the end users don't have to be experts in reporting. They just need to have access to the system that you provide to them. You define who has access to what, and then when they log in, they can see what they're looking for right on the platform here within ETQ Insights. If you happen to have your own reporting tools, and many of our customers use things like Power BI and Tableau and other reporting tools, there's an option called the Quality Data Lake, or QDL, which is the same data that's available to ETQ Insights, but instead of using our predefined dashboards or the ones that we helped modify as part of the implementation, you can use your own Power BI with your own reporting folks that already use Power BI and simply just point to the QDL as a data source. And that opens up an endless capability of doing analytics and reporting and compliance reports and all kinds of other things within the platform. So Jennifer, I think that's it for me. And thank you for spending a couple minutes with us here.
Thanks, Tom. As always, I appreciate it when you can take those actions and workflows and visualize them for us. It's so much easier to understand. So thank you for that. So just a quick word I'd like to share with you that no matter where you are in your quality journey for leveraging an EQMS to ensure compliance, at ETQ, we are ready to help you. With a comprehensive, purpose-built EQMS like ETQ Reliance, you can reduce costs, streamline operations, build compliance into your processes, as Tom had shown us. And this all results in improved efficiency, time to market, sustainability, and most importantly, bottom line results. So we'd love to have the opportunity to share with you our expertise and help you along your quality journey. And as you can see with ETQ, you are in good company. We serve hundreds of customers of all shapes and sizes across many industries, and we apply learnings and best practices from all of those industries to provide a unique value to you. For over 30 years, we have empowered quality champions like you to use quality management as a catalyst for business success. We aim to be a trusted advisor and help to guide you along your quality journey. Also, we're part of Hexagon, a global leader in sensors, software, and autonomous manufacturing solutions. Okay, so we've now reached the part of the webinar for the Q&A. So let's take a look and see what questions have come through the chat. Adrian.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you to everyone for such a great presentation. Now, before we have our presenters address your questions, I'd like to remind you that we'd love your feedback. So please take a few minutes to complete our webinar survey. All right, so we'll get to our Q&A now, and we have a couple questions coming in, and just as a reminder, you can continue to submit those during the Q&A session here. All right, so first question for you guys, what size of organization is these solutions designed for?
I'd be happy to jump in on that one. So it actually doesn't matter how big the organization is because all organizations have similar compliance requirements. So we have customers that are relatively small, 100 plus or minus people that need to maintain compliance, and our system can do it just as well. But also, as I described earlier, we can scale across quite large organizations as well. Multiple locations, multiple business units, multiple languages, which we support. The challenges become more exponential as you grow in the size of the organization, just because of the problems with oftentimes trying to use systems to meet everyone's needs in one place. a lot of organizations end up implementing separate systems to do the same thing just because they have slightly different requirements. Our system has what's called harmonization capability, where you don't have to force everyone to standardize on everything exactly the same. So, but just as I said, it could be small or large organizations that benefit from our system.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tom. All right, another question for y'all. So from what you've seen, can active packaging, such as antimicrobial packaging, help in reducing food recalls that are due to microbial contaminations?
That question, I'm not sure if it's directly applicable to our system and how our system can help. It sounds more like it's a process, a business process that this organization has. We can certainly make sure that the procedures to do so are documented, people are trained on it, and we can also track the results of those tests. We have several applications, lab investigations, as well as inspection management that could track the results. And then when issues are identified, it could launch into a nonconformance report automatically, which then could launch into a quality event and a corrective action, as I described. So that's based on the question, Alvina, unless you have other suggestions as to how to answer that.
No.
Okay, I think we did a good job of tackling that question as best we could for this webinar, so thank you. All right, let's move on to another question. All right, so what are some best practices or lessons learned from your EQMS journey?
So it's probably a question for me.
Yes, yes, for you, Albina.
Yes. So the best practices is to involve key stakeholders as much as possible. So not just to roll out the out-of-box solutions that we have in ETQ and just like let them use it, but involve stakeholders, ask what their needs, what their business processes. Probably we need to make like some customizations, and ETQ platform is actually very flexible in it, that we can do all the customizations that business requires. So in this way, the customers, our business stakeholders, will use it more, and it will be more like in use, the applications, and like if they're not involved, because we had instances at the very beginning when the processes were rolled out within ETQ, but the business didn't use it because it wasn't really applicable to their business in some part of the workflow process. So yeah, that's advice.
Great, thank you, Albina. And then also, how did you and the quality team socialize to other teams in upper management to invest in a quality management system?
That's actually a good question. Because like within our ETQ, we have a lot of different processes, and some teams and a lot of teams involved in ETQ in some sort of workflow steps, whether it's approval or maybe they just read the documents. So they kind of know part of it, and actually users of our ETQ bring this up to their top management, that ETQ can solve their department problems. So sometimes when we roll out something new within ETQ, we do training and presentations to the team, and like to the whole ETQ team, not just like to the key stakeholders. And then people just come to us, reach out to us, asking, "Oh, can we use this process also to solve this our business problem?" So yeah, I think like this.
If I may add to that, one of the ways we've seen people have success with it as well is building a business case. So they build a business case and they include the ROI of the investment for the EQMS, and then they take that and they socialize it with the different departments within their organization who would either approve the investment into the quality management system or would be users of the system. So that's another process that we've seen organizations use to help facilitate that process.
Great. Thanks, Albina and Jennifer. Okay, so another question for Albina, if you want to start us off on this one as well. So, and I think this is a really important and critical question. How has automating your quality processes helped you to ensure compliance with FDA and or your suppliers as well?
Well, as I mentioned before, right, that we had instances where we released the product, but we realized that we didn't get approval from the regulatory agency before we released the product. So that's why like having ETQ built-in workflow where we make sure that before releasing formula to produce the product, we actually get the approval from a regulatory agency approving our formulas, approving our labels, all the statements that we have in our labels. So before we get this, then we release our formulas and then we produce the product. So in this, like following these steps using ETQ workflows, we actually avoiding these mistakes that could happen, right, with producing product without approval from regulatory agencies, and then probably risking destroying product because agency didn't approve it, or maybe getting some fines. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Albina. And just as a reminder to the audience, you can continue to submit Q&A or your questions into the Q&A and chat console if you'd like. All right, we'll get to one last question here, I think, unless the audience has some more. All right, so again, this is for Albina. So looking at the quality data analytics, how are you leveraging this? And also, is it integrated with other systems?
So we are currently working with ETQ team on data lakes. So on utilizing ETQ data lakes to build our analytics tools. But what we use before the data lakes, we use these reporting tools which are built within ETQ. We create these views where we put all the data in it, get all the data from, for example, from NCR modules, like how many NCRs were open this month, how many NCRs were closed, what's the total cost of NCR, what's outstanding cost. So this reporting are currently used within our ETQ system. We also use ETQ not only like for reporting, but also for alerts. There is also alert possibilities within ETQ. And these alerts, actually, we created some alerts for our co-packers, which allows co-packer users to get alerts about, let's say, new bill of materials being downloaded to their account. So they can go into ETQ and check this new bill of materials, or maybe that the component of this bill of materials was changed with a new one. So the co-packer being notified about this, so they can update their production accordingly.
Okay, thank you, Albina. Anything else that Jennifer or Tom would like to add?
No, thank you. Albina did great.
Okay. All right, great. Well, so this has been a great discussion today, and I want to thank once again Jennifer, Tom, and Albina for their presentation and the discussion and doing this Q&A, as well as today's sponsor, ETQ. So if you have any additional questions or comments that you forgot to ask, please don't hesitate to click on that email us button at the bottom of the console, and we'll share those with our presenters so that they can respond directly to you. And if you didn't have a chance to fill it out earlier, you'll be redirected shortly to the post-event survey, and we do always look forward to hearing how to make our programs work better for you. So we appreciate your time on this webinar today, and we hope you found the webinar to be a valuable experience. So thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.